Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family, I'm cloud hired.
So I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
Welcome everyone. Today I'm Michael Gibbs and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. And I'm here with my Chief Marketing Officer and good friend, Alonzo Coleman. And we're here today to help you build your best cloud computing career. Maybe you desire to get your first cloud architect job, or you desire your first cloud engineering job, or you want to know the actual difference between a cloud architect and a cloud engineer so you can get the right training and get hired. Or you want to know how to win that cloud architect interview or solution architect interview or cloud engineer interview. That's why we're here, to help you build an elite, high-performance, high-paying cloud architect career. Now, I've been in this tech industry for well over 25 years now, and I've been helping others get their first tech job and get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. Now, I didn't start out in tech. I started out in internal medicine, and I have helped more people transfer careers than you can possibly imagine. I'm an expert at getting people hired, so much so that 98 magazines and TV stations interviewed us last year on how we get people hired, because we're so good at it and the whole world knows about it, and I want to get you hired. So please ask us your questions so we can build a career for you. Normally, my Chief Operating Officer would tell you about all these things and introduce us today, but he's just a little bit under the weather, so we're going to give him the rest that he needs so we can make sure that our students continue to be successful and everything runs smoothly. So it's just Alonzo and I today, so it's going to be a small discussion. It'll be a ton of fun anyway. So a couple things to help you get started. If you're looking to win that next interview and you want to learn the right interview preparation so you can get hired, download the completely free interview guide. Now, guess what? If you want to get your first cloud architect job on Thursday, we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. You come on this webinar, we will spend 30 minutes going over the role so you know 100% about the cloud architect role. You'll know what we do, which is completely different than what's covered in certifications. You'll know what hiring managers desire in the perfect employee, and you will know how to get hired. We will tell you a list of every skill that you need so you can walk in and get hired on your next interview. Now, also, guess what? We even have an e-guide to help you before you actually get to that webinar. And feel free to download the How to Become the Ultimate Cloud Architect, How to Become a Cloud Architect PDF file. The link for that is in the description below, like all of our videos. So get the interview guide, come to the free webinar, get the guide about how to get hired as a cloud architect, and ask us your questions. That's completely why we're here, just to answer your questions. You know, every day someone wants to speak to me. And even at $1,200 an hour, there's an 18-week backlog of calls that I could even possibly schedule. And I know that's out of the budget of most people, and that's why I'm here with my executive team every week to answer your questions. So please ask them so we can help you build the ultimate cloud architect career, cloud engineer career, AWS solution architect career, and we'll go through whatever you need to know. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, before we get to Alonzo, any of you can be anything you want. Whether it's Daniel Bosu, who is our student, and we love this guy. He's like a son to me. And, you know, he didn't even graduate high school, but we got him trained, and now he's a cloud architect working for JP Morgan Chase. Or Coyote, who you didn't see in the intro video, the college student who's a solution architect now with AWS after our training. Or Romanik Ivan Tambo, who's a student of ours that got hired after our cloud architect training. Or Jermaine, who was selling landscaping gear, really great guy, by the way, who's now working as a cloud architect. Or Vladimir, who was 24, who was not working in technology at all. We trained him and he got his first cloud architect job. Or Noah, who was doing social work, who we recently got hired as a cloud architect. Or Jennifer, who was a mental health tech, who we got hired as a cloud architect. Or Wallace, who we got hired as an enterprise architect with no tech background. Or Del Rabat, who really comes to visit me in Florida constantly. And we got him his first cloud security architect job, again, with no tech background whatsoever. He was working on ambulances. And I got a list that I could go on today. Days like Val Winder, the stay-at-home and mom, now a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. We've got people at AWS, Azure, Google, Apple, Deloitte, Accenture, Capgemini, KPMG, Bearing Point, IBM, Cisco, and of course, lots of our people at JP Morgan Chase. So ask their questions so we can help you all get cloud hired. And that's what we're here, to help you get cloud hired. Now, you know, Alonzo, how about you introduce yourself? Talk about what you see it feels like watching people get hired every single day of the week.
Oh, man, I can't tell you enough, Mike. But first, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alonzo Coleman. I am the Chief Marketing Officer for Go Cloud Careers, a position that I'm very happy and very proud to have. I get a chance to help everyone transition from not understanding tech to be able to brand themselves effectively, their presence on LinkedIn, and be able to communicate through their resume of their achievements and how to get cloud hired. So I, along with Chris, along with Mike, we always are excited. We always get these great correspondences with our students who get hired from all over the world. They share that with us. Sometimes they don't. Then maybe perhaps they get so excited they forget to share that news with us. But for those who do, we always are excited when we hear the news that they got hired with a position with an organization that has tripled, double, triple their normal income and being able to step into a new career of possibilities as a cloud architect and cloud professional, and even for our prior students, even as cloud engineers. So I'm always excited to work with them. I'm always excited to be a part of this community. We're here to answer your questions. Please don't be shy. Share what your thoughts are. Share what your concerns are. Share what even your hopes are about being a cloud architect, and we welcome you here.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's start answering questions. Bring us your questions, because if you don't ask us your questions, we can't help you. We're here for at least an hour. I may have a little bit more after that, so we want to do what we can to help you.
Yes, please ask away. Do not be shy. Don't hold back. This is the opportunity to start the career that you've always wanted, and it starts with a single question. So let's hear it.
Here, so Vernon says, when it comes to being a cloud architect, are there any practice tools to gain experience or at least have tangible familiarity with the role? I'll tell you what the tools are, but I'm going to tell you what the role is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the role is not what 99% of the people think about. And when you're asking this question, I'm concerned that you don't know what the role is. So let me explain to you the role. The role of the solution architect or the cloud architect is to design a technology solution that is going to improve a customer's business performance. That's the key. We design technology to improve the customer's business performance. That means increased revenue. That means decreased operating costs. It means employee productivity. It means optimized supply chains, etc. So now that you know what the role is, let's talk about it. Now, when people ask, what practice things can I do? It gets really scary. And here's the reason it gets really scary.
Yeah.
They think they're going to go configure something.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to understand the role of an architect comes from the building architect world, the building designer. Now, the reason we have to retrain everybody else as AWS certified people, because the certification providers aren't architects themselves, is as follows. Most people are taught how to do what I call cloud construction, meaning here's the name of some silly proprietary service, which we can't use in the first place, and here's how to set it up or configure it. Now, that's effectively like me giving you a hammer, a screwdriver, a nail gun, a glue gun, and a saw and a drill and saying, design a hotel. Get familiar with the hammer, the nail, the saw, and the screwdriver, and you'll know how to design a hotel. Well, of course you won't, because designing is completely different than building. And that's why we don't hire construction workers to design high-rise hotels or shopping malls or building communities. We hire architects to do that. It's a completely different skill. So what do you need to know to be able to do this? Well, you need to know the network and the data center. And then I will tell you the tools that you can practice with, but they're not going to get you familiar with the training, the role you're going to need training. And here's the thing. So if we design, present, and sell, the skills that you need to do this means the cloud. If you look at the cloud, Vernon, it's a network and a data center. That's it. It's just been virtualized. So the cloud is a lower performance version of the traditional network and the data center, which in many cases is cheaper, and in other cases more expensive. It depends on how you utilize the cloud for your customers. You need to know that when it's best to go to the cloud, when the cloud is better, faster, or cheaper, when the cloud is not the best option, and how to leverage both together. So what you need to know is you need to know BGP, because if you don't know BGP, you can't set up your traffic routing, and if you're even though traffic routing, the whole thing collapses and you've got nothing. You need to be able to build the pipeline and the roads, the highway, and the traffic flow, which means you need to be able to build the IP addressing plan for an organization, whether they have 20,000 remote locations or just 2. Now that means subnetting, supernetting, and all of these kind of things in the back of your mind. Kind of keep that there. Now, next, what you need to understand is which WAN technology to select for your architecture. I when you use an IPsec tunnel versus an SSL VPN versus a private line versus software-defined networking versus SASE. Which one do you use and when and why? Now, next on top of that, you need to know switching, which means VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation group, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc. Now, on top of that, you have to have some familiarity with DNS, DHCP, our proxy up, how they work, not how to do them. We don't touch the tech ever. And it's funny. I don't care what's in a job description. That's actually a joke to me. I'm talking to the hiring managers that we speak to, the chief information officers we speak to every day, the CEOs that we speak to, the thousands of recruiters we speak to all the time that say, we don't let our people to tech. They're not coders, configurers, etc. Now, the next thing, for example, and of the last 20 or 30 people, for example, we've hired, none of them know how to configure and none of them know how to code, those kind of things, if they learn something different. So keep that in the back of your mind. Now, in the data center, what are you designing? Your servers and your server virtualization, your containers and your container orchestration strategy, your storage area, networks, block storage, object storage, file storage, your databases. When to use a relational database and no SQL database. And be fair, you're not using Amazon Aurora or DynamoDB in a modern world where 98% of customers are multi-cloud because they're proprietary and you can't use them. So then you need to know when to use unified communications, for example, versus ERP systems versus CRM systems, and how does that optimize business performance? And then after that, you need to know how to secure your systems and environments, etc., and you'll be good to go. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Now that you know what we do and we design that solution, we present that solution, and we sell that solution. So we start with the executive. We ask the executive about their business goals, business pain points, and challenges. So because of that, you're going to need what's called CXO relevancy and executive communication skills. Only way to practice that is to get training like ours, where we teach you how to practice that or do what I do. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've had over $20,000 of training in just how to communicate with executives and be CXO relevant. And that was post my 2 MBAs. So you can either get the training there or take our course. Now, next thing you're going to realize as an architect, you're going to be giving presentations. So either take our training program like ours or go to a company like Speakeasy and take 2 or 3 of their courses on presentations. Now, our whole training is less than one of their single speech courses. But if you're not training with us, get that $10,000 of presentation skills training. I sure did. And that's why we created this program. Beyond that, you're going to have to sell. So if you're not coming from sales and you're not taking our course, get some sales training. Because what's the architect do? Design, present, and sell. Now, you will need some negotiating training because you're going to be negotiating deals. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You're going to need some negotiation training. And you're going to need some written communications training. And here's the reason. You know, when you go to an MBA program and they tell you to write a 40-page document with academic citations, they should say how to put 40 pages of context in 2 pages. So there's a lot of training involved in that. I did 2 MBAs and another master's degree on how to relearn how to write. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Now, what tools can you practice with? Microsoft Word. We respond to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, write thought leadership documents all the time, write architecture documents. So practice writing documents in Microsoft Word. Now, we also have to build a business case. I've got to go prove to the customer that the cost of the solution is nothing compared to the business value that it receives. Right. So because that, keep that also in the back of your mind. So you're going to need some business acumen training, either an MBA or with that. And you're going to have to learn it. So practice building ROI models in Excel, because that's a tool that we use. Now, practice drawing your architectures out. Now, I don't care if you draw them in PowerPoint, old days of Microsoft Visio, Lucidchart, or Draw IOs, but draw them out. And we're not talking with silly AWS symbols. We're talking about the tech symbols. What's going to have to work? How does the information get into the systems? How is it secured? What's on the systems? How are we building performance? Where's the data stored? What's the encryption strategy look like? What do the demilitarized zones look like for the publicly facing web? How is the system managed? What kind of storage are you using and why? How does the storage get around the pathetically slow block storage of the cloud environment? Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Document these things. And then practice presenting. Because For one of these jobs, you're going to have to present on the interview, and you're going to be giving presentations every day.
Yeah.
And the better you are as an architect, like I'll tell you, when I became a good architect, I traveled 300,000 miles a year just to give presentations. Presented at conferences, presented on TV shows, and I do that all the time still. So those are the skills, Vernon, that you need to know. Design, present, and sell. We don't touch the tech. We don't configure the tech. Ever, ever, ever. And that's the problem. Is, when people ask what practice tools they can use to gain experience, you're going to have to be trained. People don't become doctors without training. People don't become airline pilots by working as flight attendants. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and then you'll be good to go. Elizabeth James, you totally understand the fact that some tech recruiters don't have all the knowledge about the role. And let's talk about that. So as you were trying to, how do you answer the questions? Do you code? Do you have a GitHub without disappointing the recruiter? Just move on.
Oh, yeah.
Elizabeth James, here's the thing. I've seen a lot of stupid job descriptions.
Yeah.
I mean, really stupid job descriptions that have things like Python and Terraform and Bash scripting and Windows PowerShell scripting, and they're for engineering jobs regardless of the title. And I'm guilty of it myself. Here's how I used to write job descriptions. It was pretty terrible. I'd go to Indeed, Dice, Tech Recruiter, Monster.com, and I'd think, I want an enterprise architect. This thing's got 10 pages long. This is going to impress my manager when I post this garbage. It's going to impress HR, because if I didn't give them a long enough job description, HR is going to do something stupid. So I write up this, I copy and paste this stupid thing that I find out there. And it's like 10 pages long, and it's full of everybody else's job. And I look at it and say, none of my stuff is in there. And then I add it. And the next thing you realize, I get a job description that's 20 pages long and completely 100% irrelevant garbage. And, about 2 weeks ago, we had a company that wanted to hire 300 of our students. And they sent one of their executives to one of our classes to talk about our class. And one of our students said, I see your solution architect job, and it's got Python in there. Do you want Python? And he says, our architects don't code. He said, our architects design, present, and sell. They don't touch the technology. And one of the students asked him, why is it there? And he said, we cut and paste. Now, here's where it also gets funny. I have a lot of recruiter friends, like a lot of them. And there's hundreds of recruiters on my network, but there's a few. Now, the best recruiters I know, one of the best is IT Excel. And if I call IT Excel Christina Marino, for example, and I say, Christina, I want this job. This architect job has coding. Do you think they really want coding? And she's going to say, Mike, let me call the hiring manager. And she's going to call me back, and she's going to start laughing. She says, Mike, the hiring manager really wants to meet you, because when you asked what that job description was and said it didn't look like an architect, she would say, and she said this to me, she's like, at least you know what an architect is. And you wouldn't just send in a resume with all this garbage on there that to ask, is this really what you're looking for? So a good hiring manager, a good recruiter knows, but HR won't know. So I want you to really look at what HR does. They find people which fit into an organization's culture, not the role. They don't know the role. Now, to be fair, HR typically has 5,000 applicants for every single job. If I posted right now on LinkedIn that said, I'm looking to hire a cloud architect, my inbox would be so full that me, Chow, Chris, Alonzo, Leo, Tyrone, Ebenezer, Collins, Manuela, and Eddie and Anselm, they'd all be looking through resumes all day long. And then we'd interview them and find that nobody knows anything other than how to do stuff, which is not ours. So just move on, Elizabeth James, when you see a really ridiculous one. First, you got to find out if it's a good recruiter. If it's a good recruiter, they're not going to post garbage. They already know. And if it's a good recruiter, you can call them and interview them. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So do those things and you'll be good to go, Elizabeth James. But the key is, I don't worry about a job description. And actually, Chow, since you're sitting behind there, can you actually post what was in CIO Magazine, the link to CIO Magazine? Because that way people can see that they're not just hearing it from me. They're asking the chief information officer. Who is the chief information officer? Well, you got a CEO like me that sets the strategy for the business. And my chief information officer would select the technology and the people to build the technology that's going to make my business better. And, Gartner looked at these ridiculous job descriptions and said, architects don't do this. And Gartner actually interviewed CIOs and they published it in a paper. So, keep that in the back of your mind. Then, Shaw, you can move. Up and up. You saw you have a new package of interview mastery. Can you elaborate? How is that different from what you've already seen in the market? Up and up, absolutely. So here's the thing. Interview training is every last bit as important as your career training. Now, I actually like showing people the pay differential on a job. I like to say it's $50,000 to $100,000 between the highest and lowest paid person for a position, but it's not. It's much more than that. So at Google, the average principal cloud architect, and I was a principal architect within 2 years, earns $508,000 a year. But the range is $391 to $677. That's almost $300,000 difference. When you're dealing with Microsoft, whose average principal architect earns $379 per year, but the range that they have is $295 to $495. Again, that's $200,000 different. And AWS, their average principal architect earns about $372, and they also have something between $300 and $5,000 as their average architect pay. So what does that? Well, people think it's your experience, but it's not. See, here's the thing. If you sweep the employer off of that feet on your interviews, they're going to want you more. And if they want you more, they're going to pay you more. It's kind of like two people on a date. If you see something and someone and they're the girl of your dreams or the man of your dreams, you're going to go really far to recruit that person, to date that person. But if it's something you really have no interest in, but you're lonely and it's this Friday night, hey, meet me for pizza. Versus if it's someone you love, meet me at the best steakhouse in town. I'll order some nice wine. We'll get a bottle of Dom Perignon. I'll have a souffle made for you in the end. It'll be a nice experience, and we'll have a nice fine brandy. So it's what you're trying to do. So this interview program is the truly elite interviews. And up and up. What's different about this? Well, I've studied the interview now for 25 years. It helped me go from medicine to tech and take a senior position as my first job. It's helped me get Lonzo. How frequently is it that I send you a text message at night that we got somebody else hired and they got a $100,000 raise?
Almost daily. Almost daily. Yeah, we get people hired from all over the different continents, all across different countries, different cities, and they show so much excitement with either an email, call, or text, and we're always dancing. So that's always something I'm looking forward to.
So it's that. So we get somebody hired and change their life every single day of the week. So it's that. So this is very fun. And there's interview training on all of our programs up and up. But, this is different. This is an elite interview program. This is specific training on how to interview, how to make the interview on your terms, how to highlight your strengths, how to mitigate your weaknesses, how to negotiate another $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 out of the job that's there, and even if you didn't know how to use it. It's how to do the panel interviews, how to do the presentation interviews. And guess what? We have 3 of the world's greatest interview coaches that do private one-on-one sessions, 3 of them in that program in addition to the training. And kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So we have to do this because, like, for example, a week ago, we got someone whose first job was $170,000 and they never worked in tech before. And that's not abnormal. That's pretty normal for us, for our regular things. Yes, Jay, $100,000 on the first job. Honestly, that's light. The range of our salary of our graduates last year was $120,000 to $287,000. And that's really the key, is actually that it's there. A principal architect at Google, which I was, and a principal architect in 2 years, earns $508,000. And even my first job in tech back in 1993 was $110,000. And here's the reason why. I studied that interview like you can't even imagine, because it's your desirability that gets you the thing. So in this course, we do this. Now, normally, I was doing, and I still do them. Okay, I still do them more than I'd like, actually. More than I'm like means every single day. But We do have private interview sessions naturally where people pay me, what do you call it, $1,200 an hour to coach them on an interview. And it's worth it because I can bump someone's salary up so much higher. But, most people can't afford that. And it's 18 weeks to speak to me. So because of that, because demand is so high, we created this program. My coach does some of the interviews, my executive coach.
Yeah.
The person that I would go to if I was going to interview for $1 million job, she does some of the interviews. Some friends of mine that have been IT executives for 30 plus years that have hired and fired more people than you can possibly count do the interviews. So this is a polishing thing. So what I like to say up and up is look at it this way. You've got 2 brand new Mercedes, really nice ones, okay? And you got one, and it's got this beautiful paint job on it. It's waxed, and it looks really good. Mercedes number 2 is covered in mud and bird poop and green pollen, and you can't see it. It looks gross, right? Because somebody decided to throw it in the wilderness and leave it there. Now, you got 2 cars, 2 identical Mercedes with 0 miles on it. One's going to fetch $80,000. One's going to fetch $50,000 because it looks bad. So that's really the key. It's about polishing you up, maximizing how good you actually look, and making sure that the employer desires you, because the more desirable you are, the more your earnings are going to be. Jay, 100K is nothing on a first tech job.
No.
Honestly, I don't have anybody as a rule that ever gets a salary that low on their first job. Now, Jay, here's the reason why. Actually, you know what, Alonzo, why don't you talk about business acumen, and I'm going to go get my things that I like to show.
Okay, sounds good.
Talk about
now, everyone, when it comes to business acumen, it's understanding how to communicate effectively with the person, with the team, or rather the CEO that you're communicating with. Say, for instance, you are a cloud architect, and you need to talk to this leader or this specific team of executives that want cloud architect. They want that environment, but we're not sure how or what they need. So that's where business acumen comes in. We need to find out what they're looking for, what their pain points are, what their goals are, and other criteria, so that the more communication that we have with them, the more we understand what their business needs are, the better that we're able to serve them. So there's a whole lot more to this, and we'd love to communicate more about that in other webinars as well. But we're going to focus on Q&A and how we can answer your questions as towards becoming a cloud architect.
Yeah, and Jay, maybe you're new to tech, so I'll go over some tech jobs. So this is more of a management position, but I picked it up because it requires a lot of business acumen. That pays about $399. But these range of this is $314 to $521. Again, like I said, $200,000 a year. Here's a sales role. Again, what we're talking about, 330 is an average, but the range is 255 to 441. Now, how about a senior director? Again, if your training is right, you'll get here relatively quickly. 541 is an average pay. And then we'll go into some architect jobs as well. Principal architect, which again I did in less than 2 years. 296 over at Oracle. But these are all jobs that require business acumen. There's a reason I'm telling you the business acumen for a reason. Salary of a senior director at Cisco, 527. Now, salary for a principal architect at Microsoft, 379. Salary for a principal architect at Amazon, 372. And Jay, I'm going to cover the difference in a second. Salary difference for Google at principal architect, which I was in 2 years, 508. So what separates our architects versus everybody else, and why are our people earning so much more money? Well, everybody else is teaching the name of a service and how to configure that service. And guess what? That's not a valuable skill. I can use ChatGPT to do all of that. Now, what we are doing and what we're teaching is we're teaching the business acumen. And individuals with high levels of business acumen earn on average of $549,000. Now, we provide a lot more business acumen in our How to Make More Money in Tech program, but all of our programs have a substantial amount of business acumen. We're providing leadership training and sales training and emotional intelligence training. And again, people are like, why are you doing emotional intelligence training? Well, we're doing it for the following reason. Statistically speaking, people with higher levels of emotional intelligence earn $29,600 more per year than individuals with lower levels of emotional intelligence. But when you're new and you've got no experience, it's like two Mercedes. One's all shined up and polished, and one's all dirty and scratched and scuffed up. You buy the one that's all polished up. Now, 50% of your interview is related to the tech and the competency. The other 50% is related to your emotional intelligence, executive presence, communication skills, sales skills, leadership skills. And guess what? That's what hiring managers are looking for. In fact, there was a really good Forbes article that said employers are willing to pay for it. And in many cases, they value soft skills over hard skills. So yes, $100,000 in your first tech job is nothing, Jay. Nothing. I mean, not only was I earning over $200,000 a year with less than a year and a half experience in 1996, you could do so too. And the point is it's all about getting a good job and showing that you're not a tech monkey. A tech monkey is someone that, here's the name of the service, here's how to configure it. But I can use ChatGPT for that. I don't need to hire anybody for that. For architects, I need business executives, and that's why we're training them. But yes, 100,000 easy. Although that's generally below most of what our offers get.
A lot lower.
Okay, so before I answer this question from QuickStrike21, we currently have 50% off, and that's going away real soon, and it will never come back again, off our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. So, Chow, if you can pop a link in the YouTube forum for people to be able to get that course. And QuickStrike21, you are going to use the coupon code LASTTIME50, L Lima, A Alpha, S Sierra, T Tango, A I India, M is in Mike, E is in Echo, 50. So, Chow, if you can put last time 50 in the chat box along with the link to the coupon code so everybody knows how to find it. Last time 50. I spelled it phonetically, but not everybody comes from a military or an airline pilot or a law enforcement or a paramedic background where they'd be used to using the phonetic alphabet. AQC. How do you improve yourself on the stage? Often forget to speak in a rational way. Easy to pause and do not know what you're about talking about. You need training. It's like anything else. Public speaking is a skill. Statistically speaking, people are more afraid to speak in public than to die, but you have to train it. Alonzo, how did you learn how to do public speaking?
I spent a lot, and this is outside of my formal education. It was practice. I used a lot of getting in front of the mirror, talking about what I know, doing things, and getting involved with things that were that I was very comfortable with, a lot of different subject matter. And I would get in the mirror, I would practice, I would look at myself, I would observe my nonverbals, I would listen to my tone, I would make sure that I was directly speaking with my audience and being able to transition how I deliver what I talk about to different audiences. Because with a CEO, they're interested in business transformation versus a CIO or CTO who has more of a vested interest in the technology. So pivoting that subject matter is important. But to your point, it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of consistency of understanding yourself, how you deliver, how you communicate, and being able to adjust according to who you're speaking with.
And AQC for me, I learned a little of it by practicing internal medicine because we're always convincing the patients to take the medicine.
Yeah.
The reality is I learned a little bit of it in an MBA program, and I did 2 MBA programs. I guess I like school. And then to be fair, I have an additional $20,000 of presentation training and years of executive coaching. So you need training. Most of the people that take our training, initially, they're afraid of it, and we make them do it as part of the class. Our students design an architecture in class, and then somebody's forced to present it. Typically, a technical person and a business person are forced to present it, just like the real world. And you don't get better at presentations by just reading about it. You get better at presentations by doing them, but not just doing them. You know, there's a bad expression that says practice makes perfect. No, practice makes permanent. If you practice something wrong, you get practice doing it wrong. And then it's even harder to fix it. You need perfect practice to make perfect and permanent. And that's what you need. So get some training.
Yes.
Our Cloud Architect Career Development Program will get you there with today's sale price, $1,250, or about 3 payments of $430 something, if I did the math correctly in my head. This does that kind of thing. Or you can do what I did. Get training. I can tell you, if you don't take our course, which will make you an architect and teach you how to present, Speakeasy is good. You're going to need 2 to 3 of their courses, and they're each about $3,000, but they're good. And my point is whatever you do, just get practice teaching in the education and training to prevent, because you got to be great. How do you improve your writing skills? Same thing.
Yes.
You're going to need training. And you're going to need to have someone put you through it, and you're going to have to do it again and again and learn how to do it. Typically, people don't know how to frame it. But it's also learning the human psychology. For example, you may be a kinesthetic person that learns via feeling. And that may be 10% of the population, but you may be dealing with visual and auditory learners as well. And you're going to have to use different words to communicate to different varieties of audiences. You also have to learn how to take a lot and shrink it down into little things, again, with the training thing. 3, you're just going to have to practice it.
Yeah.
I wrote 98 articles for magazines last year. I was in Forbes, I was on Yahoo Finance, Investors Business Daily, I was in DevOps Magazine, Information Week, Tech Republic, Tech Radar. I could go on, but honestly, Data Center Magazine. It's hard for me to actually remember as many magazines as I actually write. A lot of them are on our website, and Chris has got a lot more to put there. But, you know, it used to take me a lot of time to write, and I just learned how to do it. It's like anything else. It requires training. You know, my wife is a gymnast. She does stuff, honestly, it looks like wizardry to me. I swear it's like magic. But I'm neglecting the fact that since she was like 3 years old, she was doing gymnastics. So when I see as magic, she sees as training.
Yeah.
Looks like magic to me, though. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. You're just going to have to get training to do these things. It's not going to be on its own.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. AQC, you said when improving your writing skills, I don't often know what words to use to express myself. How do you express yourself on the things that you're passionate about? How do you express yourself when you're trying to convince others to align with your thinking or align with a request that you want realized? It's the same premise here. So, like you said, if you don't go with our training, practice makes perfect. And you have to, and if it makes that permanent, make sure that your training is the right way to go about it. There's nothing worse than moving forward in training and education that is in the wrong direction, or even worse, executed poorly. So it's all about making sure that you practice, you look at yourself, you continue to evolve, to grow. If you see something you're happy with, go look at it again. Find out if there's other ways to improve. So never stop training, never stop improving upon how you present, to whom you present, where you present, and being able to transition in and out of conversation so that you make it seamless. Because just like Mike said, his wife is very talented in that area. So what we think is magic, through practice and preparation and consistency, it becomes second nature for many. And the demystification of what we thought was awesome is also a indicator that you're becoming better at what you know how to do, and it's instinctive. So continue to improve day by day and focus on things that you're comfortable with so that you can start focusing and conversing on things that you're not.
It's all practice. Single man. Hi, guys. Do you guys installments or do it a lump sum? We let you do it either way you want. All we care is that you get hired in the end.
Yes.
It really doesn't matter to us. What matters to me, what matters to Chris, what matters to Alonzo is that you get hired. And it's not just my executive team. Super Chow, who's back there right now, maybe I'll get her to come on the screen later. Who knows? She does so much work to help my students. Leo helped my students get hired, but it really doesn't matter. normally Chris is the one that actually does this. Let me see if I have the actual ability to demonstrate this to show you how to do both. 1 second. Bear with me while I test this. I don't really use a computer in this room. Okay, so let me try and do this. Chow, I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I'm gonna present. Hold on. I'm gonna share screen. Yes. You told me this. I'm gonna share a window, and this window is gonna be here. So here's how this works. Can you guys all, Alonzo, can you see the Cloud Architecture Development webpage?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so someone, if they wanted to join, they really have two choices. They can click the regular price, get started now, and enter the coupon code last time 50, which we provided, or they can enter the 3 times 865 and then enter the coupon code last time 50. And in either case, 50% will be off all payments or the absolute single one-time payment. It doesn't matter in either case. It's the same program, and someone can do a payment plan to get to their goals, or they can do the one-time payment. If it's like me, I like making a single payment and being done with it because I don't like to do those payments. But whatever makes people happy, we're happy. All I care is that you get hired and do the work. Alonzo, do you care about anything other than people getting hired and doing the work?
No, I do not. I want to make sure that they have a great experience, they learn their craft, and they'll be able to get that call that everyone is looking for saying, we'd like to offer you a position.
Yeah, beyond that, it's not our focus. We're singularly focused on one thing: getting you hired, getting you paid more than you've ever dreamed possible, and giving you the path to a highly successful, wonderful cloud architect career. Harsha, I know you enrolled in our course, but I haven't seen you in many classes. So if you're finding it complex to follow, come to class. Every class. Don't skip the class. I don't care what's in a job description. We speak to architects. The architects at AWS are not allowed to touch the technology. And we had many of them on, for example. We had interviewed Trevor Spires, and we asked if he was allowed to touch the customers, and he said no. We interviewed Ivan Tomb, and he said they couldn't. The architects that we have working at Microsoft, like Balwinder, do not touch the technology because they're not allowed. The architects that we have at JP Morgan Chase tell you they don't touch the technology. The architects at Cisco aren't allowed to touch the technology on their customers' network. The architects at Capgemini, Deloitte, Accenture, Baring Point, KPMG also aren't allowed to touch their customers' technology. So how do you tackle this? You become an expert architect and you follow the work in the course. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Roy got hired last week as a senior solution architect with Deloitte. This is actually his first week. We'll actually go to his full name as opposed to just his middle name. And guess what? He doesn't know how to code either because architects don't code. And he got a senior solution architect job, a senior one. But architects don't touch the tech. So train for the job you want. Don't worry about all the distractions on the way, but train. Now, Harsha, I'm going to tell you, the only people that I've seen that don't make it are the ones that try to fritter their way off to everything else. And here's why. To become a good programmer, it could take you 25 to 50 years to become really good. To become a good DevOps engineer could also take you 25 years. To become an architect is a lifetime's work. And in a lifetime, you're still not going to know all of architecture. You'll know one fragment of architecture. I know people who've been architects for 25 years that just know BGP, and that's it. I know architects who just know medical applications, but none of them touch the tech. In fact, the principal architect at Microsoft wanted us to create an architecture certification with him. And he called up and he says, well, let's be fair. There's 1 million certifications and it's about configuring stuff. Architects don't touch the tech. That's the only thing in common with all architects. So you want to make an architecture exam? And I'm like, well, no, because architecture needs to be specific. A cloud architect's job is different than an enterprise architect's job. That's different for a network architect's job, who is different than a big data architect's job. And we can't just make one course and make it for everything. Otherwise, we're creating a new worthless certification. There's lots of worthless certifications on there. So, Alonzo, you watch people get hired every day, and none of them know how to code, do Terraform, Python. How would you describe this?
No, let's continue. We get this all the time. I think it's almost subconscious that people automatically equate tech with scripting, terraforming, bash scripting, CLI, command line, hello world, everything else. And it's not the case. It is not the case. It is not the case. And I will say it again, it is not the case for you to need to do any coding. Okay. So we've had plenty of students who have most recently have mentioned that that they move on and they don't focus on what we train, what we teach, and they skip a lot of key material that would help them understand the who, what, where, and why of why coding is not necessary for this role. So we emphasize that you go step by step, as we mentioned, step by step, as we have cultivated and curated this development program to be what it's supposed to be. So if you're skipping key items and you're feeling confused, just make sure, and I'm not saying that you are, but make sure that you are following the steps in which the course is intended. Otherwise, everything will feel very, very cryptic. It will feel very unfamiliar. So attend class, please, 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 because it will fill in a lot of blanks that you may be missing on. So ensure you get the best bang out of a bang for your buck on what you paid for. Show up for class, ask questions, attend everything that we ask, and you will come out of this as a successful architect.
Yes, and I know Harshal. He's very, very smart. But Harshal, make it to class, follow the plan exactly. It took decades to be able to have the knowledge to put this plan together. James T. I currently work in risk management. I'm working to transition an enterprise architect. Would a CISA or a C-Risk still be a good investment? James T. No certification is ever going to get you any job ever. So what would be really good is if you learned risk management. Or if you wanted to work in risk management. If you want to be an enterprise architect, learn enterprise architecture. That means, what's your business acumen knowledge? How would you set up the people, processes, and technology to enhance the business performance? How do you increase revenue, James T? How do you optimize the workflow that people do? How do you optimize communication and collaboration across continents? How do you increase information sharing between finance, accounting, marketing, so that the decision makers have the right knowledge to make the right decision? This is enterprise architecture. How will you lead the hundreds of engineers in an organization on the right strategy so they don't build what they feel like building, they build something that helps? How will you get the requirements from the executives to know exactly what to build? Enterprise architecture. What are the pieces and parts together that need to happen? For your successful architecture, what do you need? What networking people do you need? What security people do you need? What storage people do you need? What big data people do you need? How many program managers do you need to make sure the process is rolled out smoothly? How many DevOps engineers are going to be needed on the team? Again, enterprise architecture. Now, James T., it's about $2 billion of technology to optimize this business. Now, when you build a business case on this, how's it going to help? What's it going to do? Is it going to increase revenue? Is it going to improve employee productivity, decrease operating costs? Is it going to decrease error defects? See, these are the things that enterprise architects do. And James T., for that, you need business acumen. So don't waste your time on worthless certifications. Build your architecture skills, your people leading skills, your sales skills, your emotional intelligence, executive presence. James T., the enterprise architect, is very far from the tech. I mean, very far. It's 80 to 100% business. It's a director level role. Now, James T., get used to schmoozing. Get used to entertaining clients. Get used to facilitating meetings. That's what we do here. I spent almost a decade as an enterprise architect job. Now, in that decade, it's pretty embarrassing. I spent like $100,000 on lunches, entertaining clients, and probably about as much in dinner in a single year, just doing it. Thankfully, we've got the corporate American Express cards that our companies pay for, but that's the job. So don't worry about getting certifications. Worry about getting trained for the job. Honestly, if there's more than 2 certifications on a resume, I won't even interview the person. Because I know when somebody's studying for certifications, they're not learning how to be good at their job. They're learning how to pass a job, and they're focused on academic nonsense. And I like education, but that's not education. Certifications, for the most part, are brainwashing to help you sell a vendor stuff. Now, these two are a little different, but they're not going to help you be an enterprise architect. Not sure where that's coming from, but it adds something.
My apologies, my son.
It's okay, Alonzo. We all got kids. My Cindy. So I was away this weekend. I had my friend, one of my closest friends, come in and check on my cat all day, every day, and I cried out to that cat, and she jumped all over me. I've never been so loved and missed it. It was really exciting to see.
Yeah, he's excited. Yesterday was his 10th birthday, so we're celebrating.
So the Heavenly Vision, as much as I'd love to join your training program, you can't afford it. You live in Ghana and currently don't earn that much. Please, can the free tutorial videos on your channel help you get a cloud architect job? You know, there are people that have done it, the Heavenly Vision, but it's going to be really, really challenging. Yeah. I recommend watching all the free boot camps that we've done, watching all the business training that we've done. You know, you can get some additional training. It's not going to be enough on its own, but it's also going to be good through Cloud Heroes Africa. That also provides some good training. We're executive sponsors of that program, and I've teaching it periodically, and 50 of our students also do. It's run by Alphonse Chang, and it's in a wonderful organization, and it's designed to help people in sub-Saharan Africa get cloud computing jobs. So if you do that, plus watch our channels, watch all of our live streams, participate in as many webinars as we can, you'll be much closer. You'll be much, much closer. Mm-hmm. Amir Khan, I hate this question. I'm going to tell you why. You want to tell me your background and asking what career I recommend. Because you're saying, what position would you recommend for someone with a sales background? Which fundamentals what I need to start as an AWS Cloud Associate? First thing, Amar, what do you want to do?
That's the question.
What you did yesterday is meaningless.
Yeah.
I mean, it's meaningless. It's like you had yesterday, let's say you had a pizza for dinner. And today I ask you what you want to eat for dinner. I don't know. Do you want to eat tandoori chicken? Do you want to eat a guido? Do you want to eat a pizza? Do you want to eat steak? Do you want to eat lobster? I don't know. You can know that. So only you know what you need, what you want to be. So tell me what you'd like to become. Now, Amir, my first job was practicing internal medicine. 6 months later, I had a senior technology role, and it was fine. Coyote was a college student working as a cloud architect for AWS. Ivan Tamba was working as a waiter, now working at AWS. Jermaine was selling landscaping gear, and he's now an enterprise architect. Roy used to sell for Kimberly-Clark. Now Roy is a senior solution architect with Deloitte. Ian was in the Army, and now he's working as a cloud architect. Balwinder was a stay-at-home mom, and her job as a cloud architect. I mean, Vladimir was a college student who's now a cloud architect. Noah was a social worker who's now a cloud architect. Daniel Bosko was in high school, didn't even finish high school, was 20 years old, now he's working as a cloud architect. So Amir, what would you like to do? Now, there's no such thing as an AWS cloud associate. There's cloud architects, there's cloud engineers, there's DevOps engineers, there's cloud network engineers. What would you like to do? Tell me what you'd like to do, what's going to make you happy, and I can help you tell you exactly what to do to get there. But it's not about what you used to do. It's about what would you like to do, because that determines, it's a long life that we live. You can't do things that are going to make you unhappy. So tell me what you like. I spent 7 years in school for medicine. Guess what? I went to tech. Then I decided I was going to be an engineer. My first job was a senior engineer. 6 months later, I said, I will never do engineering again. That's the worst job ever. I want to be an architect. And I liked it. So I got more training and did something different. The key is, what do you want to do? Tell me what you want to do, and you can do it all. But what you did in the past, yesterday I was in Orlando, Florida. Today I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida. So now if I was in New York yesterday, I would have had to take an airplane versus Orlando. I was able to drive. But I could still get anyone. So what would you like to do, Amir? We'll tell you how to get there. The Heavenly, as someone now who is starting the cloud journey, do I get an MBA now on scholarship, or focus on learning the tech and the cloud and maybe get an MBA later? The Heavenly Vision, if you have an opportunity to get an MBA, do the MBA and learn the tech at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Now you combine those two. Now you're starting to get into the architect realm.
Good stuff.
So
That is some good stuff.
Get the MBA, the Heavenly Vision. Work on the cloud slowly because, to be fair, the kind of training we give you gives you a percentage of an MBA, and we do it. But if that's not in your budget and you can get an MBA for free, go get that MBA. While you're at it, then start learning the network data center and technologies, and then learn how to sell. But yeah, go get that MBA. Definitely.
Yeah.
Miguel, which cloud certification is most respected? None of them. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And getting an interview without the right training is meaningless because you'll get an interview, and here's what happens. Now, I like to tell people the best cloud certifications to get are either the Azure Solutions Architect Expert or the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. But only 5% of the job is actually covered in that. And here's what happened. So before we started this company, I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people. And I asked them basic things. How would you design this? How would you design this? And none of them could pass. So Miguel, we had students, and we had a couple of students, they dropped out in the first week. They said, and I actually had one of them, he said he dropped out, and he's like, I'm going to pass the certification exam. And I'm like, okay. So he came back and he said, Mike, I need a contact. I want to go on an interview. And I said, okay, now what? He said, I've got the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. I said, but you don't know how to be an architect. And he said, but I passed it. It's the best one, right? And I said, okay, how do you do this? Huh? How do you do this? Huh? How do you do this? I don't know. How do you do this? I don't know. In fact, it was Daniel. And I said, Daniel, now what I need you to do is forget all that garbage that's in that certification, unlearn it, because it was taught by one of the worst certification providers. Now I need to teach you from scratch. So, Miguel, we've got people like Del Rabat who got hired and got 3 jobs without ever applying for a job with 0 certifications on his resume. Robert Welch, who got a great cloud security architect job after our training, had a cloud practitioner. Jeffrey West, who never worked in tech before in his life, had a cloud practitioner. But Del Rabat had 0. And he still turns down jobs every single day of the week. So the real key is as follows. You've got to have the right skills. So which cloud certification is most respected? None. And here's why. A cloud certification is the name of a service and how to configure that service. Now, if you guys have questions, please ask them in the chat box so Alonzo can stick around. But I'll give you an answer, Miguel, and I'll show you the difference. So, Alonzo, tell me about this new cloud, about this new project you have. I don't care what it is. What are you trying to design?
Okay, Mike. Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to us. This is Lambda Delta X-Ray. We're focused on financials. What we want to do is create a highly available, highly redundant financial architecture that's available in 4 different countries. We need high availability. We need high redundancy. We need speed. We want to make sure that everything is fortified with extra security, as all of our information is very sensitive to our customers as well as their financial information. So ensuring that their identification and financials is secured is key. We also want to make sure that we have all of our documents stored for compliance for PCI and DSS related compliance. We want to make sure that everything is locked down and that we have everything available. It is important that we don't lose or go down in any way, as we service millions of people. So if we have anything that's going down, that's going to cost us at least 1.5 million per minute. So ensuring that we have high availability, redundancy is key. Can you help us, and what can you do for us?
Okay, so Miguel, first, I'm going to be the AWS certified person that doesn't know anything. And then after that, I'll be an architect. Yes, Alonzo, I've got a solution for you. We're going to take you to AWS Cloud. Since availability matters a lot for you, we're going to put you in 2 availability zones. Now, you said security matters, so we're going to use WAFT and Shield and NACLs and security groups. And then after that, we'll store all your critical stuff in S3 Glacier Vault, and that way you'll keep it that it's there, and you're going to be good to go.
No, thank you. We need to understand a full scope of what our services can, what your full services can deliver, and AWS is not exactly what we're looking for. But thanks for your time,
Miguel. That's what's going to happen if you on an interview if you're looking at this. Now, here's the reality. Alonzo, you said you've got a big global bank. You said availability and security is critical to you. approximately how many people's records do you store?
For this continent, we're looking at 56 million records.
How about all continents?
We're looking at 655 million records.
655. Okay, security is really big to you. So, Alonzo, let's be fair. To deal with this environment, we can't put you in a single cloud because a single cloud's a single point of failure. You told us that you lose $1.5 million per minute, and if something were to go wrong. Now, AWS had a 7-hour outage last year. Clearly, that's not something that you can tolerate.
Absolutely not.
So, what we need to do as follows. We need to use either a multi-cloud network or a hybrid multi-cloud network. Do you have systems which run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that are high-performance systems?
We do.
Okay, so the cheapest and best performance for you is going to be a hybrid multi-cloud, and here's the reason. If a cloud provider goes down, guess what? You're going to be out of business and in trouble. In the data center, we can get you much better performance. I know. Do you have any applications where a nanosecond of latency can increase your financial performance?
Very much so. When we're dealing with financials, if they want to buy, sell, and trade, and they're able to do so at a second's notice, each second could mean the difference between them being bankrupt or increasing their revenue by millions.
Okay, now Miguel and others, this is what one of our students is going to sound like, an actual architect. Alonzo, let's get back to this hybrid multi-cloud architecture for the reasons why. For your stuff that's most important and needs the highest performance, I want to put them in your data center. We'll help you build an optimal data center. And here's the reason why. You know, we can get to much lower latencies in your data center because the time it takes to get to the cloud, we don't have to address. And in the cloud, we have block storage. And as much as they want to tell people in certifications that block storage is fast, the reality is it's slow. We can get 250,000 input and output operations per second in the cloud. I can get you 19 million in your data center. So that will give you nanoseconds of competitive advantage. Potentially could earn 50, 100 additional $1 million per year, which will more than pay for your data center. But this way, if a cloud provider fails, you'll still be good. Now, the next thing we want to do is put the rest of your data in 2 separate public clouds, maybe AWS and Azure, and potentially Google Cloud. And I'll tell you what we would use the Google Cloud for after the fact. In AWS and Azure, we're going to put the majority of your things. We're going to put the things that are going to need to scale on demand, and that way we can leverage the cloud security. Now, because you said security matters, we can't use any of these silly, ridiculous cloud security things that are taught in the certification. We're going to basically work with the best firewall vendors, and we're going to create multiple sets of firewalls, something like from, say, Palo Alto and Cisco systems, so we can leverage from their 20 years experience doing just security. Now, of course, you're going to need to determine who users are, what they can do. And we're going to work with Microsoft and a few other major identity providers to get you the best of the best. So we're not dealing with the stuff that the cloud provider would give you, which would be like a Swiss Army knife, where they do a lot of things and not so great. Now, we're going to bring in some network architects to make sure that your networking is right, because if the networking is not right, everything's going to fall apart. We're going to be synchronizing your clouds. So if your data center were to go down, you'll still have AWS and Azure. If Azure were to go down, you'll have AWS, because there's never been a time where all clouds went down at the same time. Now, how important is disaster recovery or the ability to recover from a disaster to you?
Critical.
Okay, so we're going to actually recommend the Google Cloud as well. And here's the thing. I know in certifications, they teach people in AWS to back it up in a different region. But if AWS dies, you lose everything. And since we've got your data in your data center, AWS and Azure, if we back you up to the Google Cloud, we could still bring you up should the AWS Cloud, Azure Cloud, and your data center all go down. Now, in order to come up with this design, I've consulted with well over 50 architects, which each have 15 years experience in their respective fields. Big data architects, application architects, network architects, IAM architects, cloud security architects. We also consulted with some DevOps engineers to make sure that it can be automated and things. We consulted with the maintenance people of the world, the SysOps people, to make sure it'll be easy to maintain. Would you like to have a further discussion with me, our technical team, and my technical team?
Absolutely, Mike. That sounds very interesting. We'd like to know more.
Okay, so Miguel, the point of showing you this was train for that job. Be prepared for the job. If you're prepared for the job, you will get hired. But don't just get a certification for an interview, because in the end, you'll get rejected. And if you just get rejected on the interview, here's what happens. The company will put you on a do not hire list, and you'll waste your term. So prepare to be great and get hired and be great, 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 great. So let's get to the next one. If you've got questions, please let me know. As a reminder, my team has tried to remind me that, to tell everybody that we have a 50% sale off right now on the Cloud Architect career development using the coupon code LASTTIME50. Please put that in the chat box for everyone. And we also have a 35% discount off because it's a launch and we don't usually discount programs like this for our elite interview program. My team, Chow, can put a link into that as well as that coupon code for that. Let's get to the next one. 255 Yash. Hey guys, I just got into a help desk job. Congratulations, very good. I want to go to cloud computing. You have started, of course, you want to be a cloud architect, but you also want to go into DevOps. So Yash, you got a choice.
Got a choice.
You want to be an airplane pilot or a flight attendant. You can't be both.
Yeah.
The key is, what do you want to do? Now, I'm going to tell you, if your goal is cloud architecture, there's nothing on Coursera that's going to help you.
No.
It will waste your time and take your time, but it's not going to help you. If you want to go become a cloud architect, you could take our course, or you can go get an MBA and take architecture training. I prefer you take our course because it'll save you years and $50,000 to $100,000. But I just want you to know how to get there.
Yeah.
You need to know design, and design is not the same thing as building things. So you can, and if you join us on Thursday, and please join us on Thursday for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job. We'll tell you all of the things to learn. But what you need to learn, which is not covered in Coursera, is you need to learn networking, BGP, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation, DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP, and how to tune these things. IP address planning. How would you set up and design the IP address planning for an organization with 20,000 remote locations? If the IP addressing is wrong, everything falls apart. Next, you're going to be dealing with WANs. What's the right WAN technology to meet your customers' needs? So, of course, we cover all these things, but if you're not with us, learn about when to use private lines versus Ethernet over MPLS versus software-defined networking versus SASE versus traditional VPNs, because you're going to need them all. And it's about architecting the right system. Now, we're going to be dealing with switching, which means spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, and all that stuff, because you're going to need to know that. You probably should know security authentication, things like 802.1x authentication as well. And, you're going to need to know NAT. And it's not like the basic NAT they teach in the AWS Advanced Network. You're going to need to know real NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAC, because we're going to use all of these. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So those are the things that you're going to need to know on the networking side. On the data center side, you're going to need to know servers and server virtualization and container orchestration, block storage, object storage, file storage, networks, and when to use them. Now, because these networks are typically slow in the storage area network, how are you going to work around the performance limitations of them? From there, what you're going to need to learn is which business applications improve performance, what's an ARP system do for a business, when should you use unified communications, when should you be using CRM systems, for example, and the other types of business applications that can improve business performance. Now, you're going to need to know databases, and not the database nonsense that's taught in certification. Databases, how to build them, how to scale them, real data warehouses like Postgres, real NoSQL databases like Apache Cassandra, as well as MongoDB, because we can't use DynamoDB in the multi-cloud environment. Same thing on relational databases, the Oracle database, the Microsoft database, MySQL, MariaDB, those kind of things, and when to use them, how to architect them, and how to scale them. Now, on the security side, you're going to need to know next-generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, how machine learning can work with things, and identity and access management systems, which are also off the cloud. Now you know the network and the data center. Now, next thing is you're going to need to get business training. You're going to have to learn how to sell, because architects design, present, and sell. You're going to need to learn how to write a business case. You're going to need how to respond to an RFI, RFP, RFQ. And if you don't know where that is, you don't even know where to begin, but it's a request for information, a request for proposal, request for quote or pricing. And you have to learn how to do these things, because you just don't get in there by accident. Now, as an architect, you're going to do executive briefings, present at conferences. You're going to be writing thought leadership pieces, writing magazine articles, external white papers for the organization. So you're going to need special training in writing and presenting. And from there, you're going to have to lead, because you're not going to be able to design an architecture by yourself. You're going to meet with that client. You're going to look at that client and go, uh-oh, I need a whole team of people. So you're going to have to build that team, lead that team. Now, when I do an architecture, I typically need 15 to 50 people for 6 months to a year to design it. Now, each one of these people are $200,000 to $500,000 a year people. So I got to now sell my internal management to give me those resources. So that's what you got to learn to be an architect. It won't be on Coursera.
No.
And it won't be on Udemy. And the reality is, we even took someone like Daniel Bosu, who paid $35,000 and had to retrain him to be an architect. Delray paid like $5,000 for a certification boot camp, and we had to retrain him. I've got students, and every one of them has spent $5,000 to $15,000 to learn this, and that's why I created this course. And that's why Alonzo joined me from a great cloud career. We trained him for the cloud, and we begged him to come back after he had his cloud job, because he knew what it was for people getting the wrong training and wasting time and effort and money. So that's what we care. But there's the cloud architect. But you can't do cloud architecture in DevOps. DevOps is a completely different training path. So if you want to become a cloud architect, take this free webinar. The link my team has just popped in the chat box right now. We can actually talk live on these conversations. But if that's what your goal is, please get the right training. And why does the right training matter, Yash? Well, the average cloud architect earns $199,000 and change per year, which is $800 a day. Every day you waste spending time with Coursera or Udemy is one day that you're not getting hired.
Right.
So we waste 30 days with that kind of training, and you lost $16,000. Our training is less than 2 days' pay for the average architect. So whatever you do, either train with us and get our training, or go get an MBA, get some networking training from Cisco or Juniper Networks because they're good at it. Get some data center training if you're not with us from, say, a VMware because they're good at it, or Red Hat where they can teach you OpenStack and OpenShift because they're good at it. But stay away from that kind of online only. We don't do anything online only. We do online plus live training in classes and things like that, because that's what it takes. You need to be able to design, present, and sell and get feedback on everything you do. So now you know what you need to learn. Congratulations on the help desk job. That's fantastic. I'm thrilled you're starting your career. For anybody that's got questions, please pop them in the chat box so we can tell you exactly what you need to learn to get to your goals. Any books I recommend? There's lots of books I recommend, but recommend for what? Yeah. Now, okay, so for the cloud architect, I recommend Internet Routing Architectures from Bassam Halabi. It's a great book to teach you how BGP works. It's only about 400 or 500 pages of BGP. He summarized it very nicely. I recommend Routing TCP/IP from Jeff Doyle. It's about 1,000 pages of routing, which is a good addition to the Bassam Halabi book. I recommend Stevens TCP/IP, and that'll get you through some of the networking. I recommend you get the right training, but if you're not with us, I'd go to VMware and read a good 500 pages on virtual machines and containers and container orchestration. I'd recommend you go to Dell, and you get the Dell EMC and IBM's information on their storage area networks and how they work and how to tune them. Again, 300 to 500 pages, you should be good to go. I recommend that you read the documentation for MongoDB, Microsoft SQL, Apache Cassandra, for example, Postgres database. I recommend you read the actual materials from, for example, Redis on how to optimize caching, because you're going to need that if you're not getting our training. I recommend you read, the documentation on Cisco, Palo Alto, Juniper, Fortinet, and Checkpoint's next generation firewalls. I recommend the RFCs for IP, the RFCs for BGP, the RFCs for private addressing, the IEEE documents on VLANs, the IEEE documents on spanning tree and rapid spanning tree. And that's just to say a few. And then, of course, I recommend economics, microeconomics, macroeconomics, marketing textbooks, finance textbooks, accounting textbooks, leadership textbooks, emotional intelligence books, and sales training books. And realistically speaking, that is exactly what would be a good start to get you there. Any others that you want to add there, Alonso?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's trying to get it's like there's no book that's going to be able to encompass everything that you need to know without interaction, training, understanding how architecture is done, being able to vet what you've learned in these books and make sure that it's effective. So, Sharon, I'm not sure, and I definitely want to emphasize that you're not going to be a successful cloud architect just by reading or by just getting certification. So we definitely encourage you. Mike has presented a lot of different opportunities on how you can do that, but being able to fully package that and present it in a time frame that makes sense and you're able to understand it effectively within something that is not going to take you months, maybe even years to do. We encourage you to enroll in our program and participate so that we might be able to give you the shortest path to you becoming a cloud architect with a community that is singularly focused on doing the same thing. And you're going to be able to work within this community to understand, ask questions, and be able to learn far quicker than you would on your own or with a, quite frankly, a stack of books in front of you.
And he'd get hired a lot faster.
Yes.
At a much higher salary. And even the book list I gave him is still $1,000. Maybe $2,000 or $3,000. So, but if he wants to do it on his own, at least we gave him some guidance on how to get closer. Kevin Jollop, I have 0 experience. How can you compete with a job that asks for 5 years experience? Experience is meaningless, Kevin. No. Competency matters. So I'll give you some examples. I love going through examples. And Alonzo, you help me with examples. So Roy just got hired as Deloitte as a senior solution architect job, and he's never worked in tech before in his life.
Nope.
Wallace Agana, there's a video on our YouTube channel, passed the whole cloud architect and solution architect and moved all the way into an enterprise architect job as his first tech job with our training. Now we have Daniel Bosa. The reason I like to use Daniel is I love the kid. Plus, he got a bunch of cats, and everybody knows I'm cat obsessed after he got his first cloud architect job. He did not graduate high school.
No.
And we trained him and got him hired at JP Morgan Chase. No. We got Jennifer, who was a mental health tech, also hired by JP Morgan Chase, and she never worked in tech before.
No.
Now, we have Delroy Batt, who was an EMT, the people that take you back and forth to the hospital. He got hired at CDW as a cloud security architect after our training with 0 experience. We had Noah, who was a social worker, trying to get benefits for people and things like medical insurance when they were poor for people. And that's what he was doing. And guess what? He got a cloud architect job after our training too.
Yes.
And we had Vladimir, who was a college student who recently got hired as a cloud architect. Now there's Jermaine. Jermaine's this cool dude who likes reggae just like I do. He was selling landscaping gear, and we got him his first tech job as a cloud architect job because he was great. Now, I didn't mention Ivan Tamba, who was working as a waiter, who we got hired at AWS, and he didn't start at like an associate architect. He started as a real architect after our course. Or Coyote, who got hired without any background in tech. Then there was Jeffrey West, who we love, who was a geologist doing some kind of geospatial earth imaging. He's a pretty smart guy, power lifter, kind of like I did in my youth. So we really liked each other a lot, but he never worked in tech before as well. And I could go on, Kevin, and I can go on, and I can go on. So experience just means you've been doing something. Now, here's why we get it done. First, Kevin, I've interviewed 6,000 people in my career. I found less than 10 that were actually competent. So I created a competency treatment program. Now, Kevin, who would you hire? You got 2 people. You got 2 doctors. Who do you want to go to? Doctor 1 is a brand new doctor, fresh out of school, but really smart. Doctor 2 has been killing people instead of saving people for the last 3 decades. He's got lots of experience murdering people. And that's the reality. Competency matters more than experience. But it's not just that. It's the packaging that we do and the branding. And then I'm going to get into my marketing executive for a reason. Alonzo, we have Alonzo doing some stuff for a reason. So let's first talk about this. What do employers want? They want the following: the ability to do the job. That counts for 50% of your interview, only 50. The next thing is, can they trust you? Which most people destroy when they lie on an interview. The next thing is, do you know what you know and know what you don't know so you don't make mistakes? Again, and if you don't even know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. So you got to learn that. Now, on top of that, they want energy, enthusiasm, and passion. Who do you want? Let me take some photos to post on Instagram. Let me quiet quit. Or someone that's there and excited to be the work. Now, you can't see her because she's hiding behind the screens, but companies want somebody called an energizer. An energizer is an emotionally intelligent person that raises the energy in the room and brings out the best in others. Behind the screen, you're allowed to come out, Chow, if you feel like it. We've got Super Chow from my team. Super Chow is not only an exceptionally good architect. Super Chow, come out there. You can see her in the nice house up there. Chow walks in the room, and every one of us just feels better. We love Chow. She's smart. She's capable. She makes our students better. And just by seeing Chow or just knowing Chow's here, I can go from being stressed to feeling great. Chow, we love you. We are grateful for everything that you do and everything you do for our students. But be like Chow. Now, Chow does not know the ability not to win. No matter what it takes, she's going to be better and rise to every occasion. Employers want that. Now, I wouldn't do it because we love Chow, but if I said, Chow, we've got an all-night webinar, she'd find a way to drink caffeine and stay up all night. Now, I wouldn't ask her to do that, but she would do it. Just like Alonzo would and I would do, because employers want somebody that goes above and beyond. And of course, they want someone that's a team player. For me and Chris and Alonzo and Leo and all of our students to love Chow so much is because she cares so much and brings out the best in the team. So Kevin, be like Chow. You won't have any problem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks for popping on screen. You have any thoughts while you're at it? Because Super Chow always has amazing ideas.
Join the program, do the work, and you will get hired before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Super Chow has spoken. She said something to me. I just listened to her. How about you, Alonzo? So, Kevin, the other thing is building the right brand and having people come to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty good at brand building. I did some marketing, but I'm not like Alonzo, Kevin. So why is it that our students don't even need to apply for jobs? In most cases, the world comes to them. Well, I do a lot of brand building. For example, I was in 98 magazine articles and TV shows and radio appearances last year, but I hired Alonzo. Now, Alonzo was working as a cloud architect, and he's quite good at it. But Alonzo spent 32 years in marketing as an MBA in marketing, and he did marketing for Fortune 100 companies. So, Alonzo, you want to talk about building our students' brand so the world comes to them?
Absolutely, Kevin. We can do that. We can provide everything and provide a lot of solutions that that really speak to who you are as a successful cloud architect. So, understand that once you are part of our program, you do the tech, you do the presentations, you get to a point where we say Kevin is ready to start interviewing. We start working on your soft skills, CXO relevancy, your emotional intelligence, being able to successfully read nonverbals, understand what you're walking into, what type of mood it is, how you're going to be able to adjust the entire environment of the people that you're presenting so that you can be memorable, tell an effective story about transformation, how the architecture is going to be working for you. We're going to be able to just very, very much just transform what you look like on paper, transform what you look like on social media, especially on LinkedIn, be able to attract the right hiring managers, be able to attract the right headhunters and people that you need to be able to spearhead you right exactly to the people that you need to speak to. So we work on all of that. Just last week, we talked about, we had a wonderful, wonderful soft skills class that focused on business etiquette, strategically understanding how to increase your brand and use your brand to influence people and so forth. So it doesn't matter about your zero experience. It's all about the competency. It doesn't matter about your certifications, because at the end of the day, are you going to introduce yourself to people who don't know anything about your competency by waving certifications in the air and say, I know this? That's not positive. It's not beneficial, and it flat out just doesn't work. So a part of your brand is going to be about becoming a competent architect. You're going to be able to communicate that through what you speak about, how you're able to influence people, and the overall presentation of who Kevin is. So please join us. I would love to share more with you. I'd love to help work with you, Kevin, along with Mike, Chris, Chow, and many of our awesome instructors. So please, we'd love to work with you. Come join us.
Do you have to sell on purpose as a cloud engineer, or can you have a stable job at a company and be an engineer from them? Oh, Anya, let me talk a little bit more about that. What's the best DU job if you don't know coding, don't have a degree, and are an introvert? Should you get a Bachelor of Science if you want a higher paying job? Do you have to learn to code? Well, Anya, you're asking a couple questions.
Yeah.
Is the cloud engineer job good for an engineer? Anya, I'm going to recommend that nobody becomes a cloud engineer right now. And here's the reason. Cloud architects bring money into the business. Cloud engineers cost money. We're going into a tough economic time. I've got cloud architects getting hired every day. I had a cloud engineering program that was really good, Anya. And I'll tell you why we stopped selling it about 6 months ago. And it was one of our best-selling programs. Financially, it was wonderful for us. But a couple of things have changed. I knew the economy was changing, and I knew that cloud engineers were going to be let go. And I didn't want to sell training for which I didn't think people had a chance of getting hired in the next 2 years. The second thing, Anya, is as follows. I knew what was going on with ChatGPT and other AI tools. And here's the thing. I demonstrated, and if you can see it on our YouTube channel, Chow or somebody pop a link to it, or Tyrone, one of my ChatGPT videos changes everything. And ideally one of the live streams. So with ChatGPT, I can write a Python script, which is what a cloud engineer does. With ChatGPT, I can write a Terraform script. With ChatGPT, I can spit out the command line to configure anything. So realistically speaking, Anya, I can take somebody that knows nothing and they can do 80% of a cloud engineer's job. And because we have artificial intelligence that can do engineering and not architecture, I knew that, and I expect massive layoffs in the cloud engineering world and massive hiring in the architect world. And here's why. As the technology can do more and more, you need people with the business knowledge of an architect and the ability to manage the different people, processes, and technologies to use this technology for better business performance. But I don't need a software engineer anymore. Why? I can use ChatGPT, and guess what ChatGPT doesn't ask for? A raise, healthcare insurance, vacation time. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't go on strike. It doesn't do anything. And it may take a human 20 minutes to write a Python script, but ChatGPT can do it in less than 30 seconds. So I don't recommend any cloud engineering jobs right now. No, I just don't. I don't recommend software engineering jobs. I just don't. And truth be told, I'm an introvert, but I learned how to act like an extrovert because it was my job. So if you get a degree in computer engineering, they're going to teach you hands-on stuff. And you're still going to need training to get a job that you want when you're done. Personally, I recommend cloud architecture because the job is in demand and it's going to pay 2 to 3 times more what a cloud engineer can earn over the course of their career. So more jobs, better pay, and half the work. So I'm not recommending cloud engineering careers, and I have not been. And that's why we took our program, which is great in engineering. We're still running it for the engineers that bought it until they're hired, because I want everybody hired as part of our program. And just because we didn't feel it was a good career for others in the field, just because we didn't feel it was a good career for others in the field didn't mean we weren't going to continue the students that we took on. But we didn't want to create any more cloud engineers because our students get extreme competitive advantages from our branding work, our resume work, our interview training. So, but keep that in the back of your mind. But I strongly don't recommend any engineering careers right now, only architecture. Yeah. And I'm an introvert, and I learned how to present and things like that. Monique, do you get commission as an architect? Absolutely, we get commissions as an architect.
Yes.
And we can get some very, very nice commissions. We design, present, and sell. So, Monique, I want you to understand the difference between a cloud engineer and a cloud architect. I mean, a sales engineer and a cloud architect. A sales engineer is a geeky engineer that's part of the sales team. And they're not expected to be very executive-like. They're not expected to be great with the CEO leadership. They're expected to be techie and being able to give a presentation and sell a little bit. A solution architect or a cloud architect is like a director of sales engineering. Much more business, much more leadership, much more executive presence, much better communication skills. See, when I was a sales engineer, I wasn't in the newspaper every single day. I wasn't in magazine articles every single day. As an architect, one day you're presenting to the Secretary of the Navy. The next day you're presenting to the CEO of a big bank. The next day you're presenting to the CEO of a big hospital system. And an architect, it's a much higher level. So Basically the same job as a sales engineer, but we're a little further away from the technology. We're less techy than the sales engineers. And we're much more businessy and we're much more executive. But otherwise, the role is very similar. Very, very similar. You could almost look at the solution architect as like a distinguished engineer. But great question there. AJ, I have one question. How about learning Python? Well, it depends on your career. So AJ, cloud architects do not code. I'm going to say it again. Cloud architects do not code. I'm going to say it again. Cloud architects do not code.
Do not code.
And AJ, if you tried to code, you would be escorted out and fired. You're not allowed to touch your customer's technology. What you use is Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and usually an email client like Outlook. You are not allowed to touch your customer's technology. So if you work at AWS or Azure or Google or Cisco or IBM or Deloitte, Capgemini, Accenture, KPMG, you will not be allowed to touch your customer's technology ever. So cloud architect team designs. Then once it's designed, a service delivery executive takes over. That's an executive that manages the people. You get a global program manager that's going to come in and they're going to bring in a team of post-sales engineers. They build it. And they will build it via the command line. They will build it via Terraform scripts, etc. And then when they're done building it, AJ, the people that manage it are called SysOps people. They're the maintenance people. And they keep going, and do another person's job. So cloud architects do not code. Now, I strongly recommend you don't learn to code because of the following reason. I want you to be great. And you do not become great by learning somebody else's job. Take Usain Bolt. I love watching him run. I love all things Jamaican for the most part. And I love watching Usain Bolt run. Boy, is this guy fast. Now, Usain Bolt's fast because he trains to be fast. He trains Olympic weightlifting for power. He trains his sprint. He trains his core stability. He's flexible. They stretch him out. Now, he doesn't do marathon running. Look at a marathon runner. They weigh like 88 pounds. And, they got little skinny muscles everywhere. And they run real slow, but they run long distances. Look at Usain Bolt. He probably can't run a half a mile. But he can run that 100 meters in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
The training to be fast is different than the training to be endurance. It's different. Now, AJ, how do people become the best? And I'm going to have Alonzo get to this too because he knows a lot. They practice every day at their craft.
Yes.
Every minute you're learning Python, you're not learning design.
No.
And you're learning a worthless skill because you won't be allowed to touch your customer's technology. So here's the thing, AJ. People with business acumen earn on average $549,000 per year. And earlier here, if you were here, I showed you senior directors that were earning $550,000. I showed you architects that were earning $500,000 a year. I showed you sales reps that were earning more than $350,000 a year because they have business acumen. So what do you want to do? Do you want to learn your job and get these $500,000 architect jobs? Or do you want to basically be focused on somebody else's job, learn their skills, and go on an interview when a person asks how you build an ROI model on something, you say, I know Python. So I'm glad you're asking the question, AJ.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better, Mike, because let's look at it from a logical standpoint. Engineers, they talk to the command line. Cloud architects talk to people. Command line, engineers are talking to the software, they're talking to the servers, they're talking to the infrastructure using specific languages that the tech understands. As opposed to cloud architects, we talk in different ways to understand body language, nonverbals, and things like that about people. So understand you can't cross-pollinate the two. I cannot talk about nuance. I can't talk about body language, emotions on the command line because the computer will not recognize that type of language. Vice versa, if I try to apply the command line and talk about hashtagging and all this hello world and all the other ways that we speak to the computer, I would be escorted out of the room because they don't care about coding or anything else. They talk about how I'm able to communicate to them in a language they want to hear about business transformation. How are you going to make money for me? How is this cloud architecture going to save money? How is it going to keep me in the game with all the other competitors that are doing well? How am I going to be able to use this for change management to implement these type of internal processes so that my people can understand what you're doing so that they can better service my customers? These are going to be totally different things. So understanding the language of people over the language of computers is what cloud architects do, and being able to manifest that and present that in with CXO relevancy, understanding RPOs, understanding how to develop and provide all the options that these clients need to make informed decisions is what we do as cloud architects. So programming language, you'll never need it because it's not relevant to the position. You're speaking with people, and you will no longer be speaking with computers and being on the command line and Yum and anything else. So AJ, we just want you to know that understanding this, you'll be able to make an informed decision so that you know what cloud architects do and what they do not.
Exactly. That's why we do it, because we want you to be successful. So Shwanelli, what's the good path for someone from technical support to solutions architect? Like anything else, training. Yeah. For example, I was a nurse and wanted to practice internal medicine as a nurse practitioner. I went to school for it. So I'll tell you what the difference is and why, you're going to need training no matter what you do. And you're also going to need a lot of help rebranding. And for example, you do technical support. There's a brand of technical support. The brand is a super techie that you call when things are broken and they talk you through how to fix it. But typically speaking, don't see business leader. So that you're going to have to do the following. First, you're going to have to change your brand. And by changing your brand, like you may be doing tier 3 support. Let's say you are. Mm-hmm. And now, that's the view of a techie person. Now, an architect is someone who's going to design, present, and sell a solution to improve someone's business performance. So nobody's going to see support as an architect. So what you'll need to do is you're going to need some help dealing with your resume. So you're also going to do, so you're basically going to have to do some branding. Maybe you won an award for closing the most number of tickets. That's going to show something. One award for closing the most tickets. The next thing that you may need to do was as following. So you're going to need to, like, let's say you created a new workflow for the technical support division. You may need to show how it created a new workflow, which reduced customer tickets by 39%. Again, that's going to know. Maybe you created a pathway that improved customer ticket speed by 22 or 23%. Again, there's that. So kind of keep them in the back of your mind. So you're going to need to do that. Now, the next thing is you're going to realize that while you're good at the tech, and I'm sure in technical support, that means that you are going to have to learn how to design the tech. And by going how to design the tech, you're going to have to learn how to design the tech to somebody's business problem. So the thing is, first, get somebody to help you with your branding, or we can help you to learn the network and the data center design tools. So design tools are as following. Design is, how do you design a system to solve a customer's business performance? That's it. So, for example, you're going to have to learn how to sell. You're going to learn how to present. You're going to learn how to lead. So the key for you is getting the right training to go from engineering to architecture. I wish I could tell you that engineering prepares you for architecture, but it doesn't. And here's why. Architecture is about designing a shopping mall. Here's how you design a shopping mall. You design a shopping mall in the following manner. You figure out what the customer wants. You figure out what they need, what it wants to look like. You build them a proposal. It's got a waterfall. It's got a parking lot. It's got this many stores. It's got all these kind of things. Keep that in the back of your mind. So we're going to be dealing with that. So that's how you design a shopping mall. Now, there's people that build the shopping mall. They're the techies. They're the construction workers. They don't design the shopping mall. They build the shopping mall. So what you're going to have to do is build your brand. And we can tell you exactly how to do that, because you're going to have to change your brand from engineer to architect. And we do that every day. It's no different than if you went from doctor to architect. You have to change your brand. We have to show the similarities between your old job and your new job. You're going to have to learn system design skills. And then after you learn system design skills, you're going to have to learn how to be a business executive. You do those things, and you're going to be there. In fact, on Thursday, guess what? We have our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar.
Yes.
And that's kind of where you're going to have to go to. So keep that in the back of your mind. There's that. And that's what you need to do. But you can do it. And that's the key. You can do it. I've watched people do it every single day. When it comes to architect training, you're going to have to forget the engineering, because that's the biggest thing that holds engineers back. They want to touch the tech. They want to feel the tech. And you can't. You got to focus on the business. So learn the business and you'll be in great shape.
Yes. Yes.
What about the job that they ask for reference, but no IT reference? Kevin, they're not looking for IT references. They're looking for people to say that they can work with you. So there's that. Now, I can tell you last week I gave references on 5 students because they all had jobs. And I with various companies, because I had about 5 people that got hired, and I gave 5 references out that week. But here's what references are really for, Kevin. And this is the secret truth. References are not, because none of us can give a bad reference. And what I mean by this is, if somebody's in my training program or worked for my company and another employer comes and I say they were horrible, guess what? They can sue me. Because you can't say anything that gets in the way of anybody else's ability to get hired. You can't say it. And because you can't say it, realistically speaking, nobody can say anything bad about you. So they just want to know that you have some references. Because if you don't have references, meaning you don't know anybody that's willing to say something good about you, what does that say about you? So kind of keep that. So don't worry about them being IT references. You just need people references.
And quite honestly, if you're able to wow them and what we call shut down the interview, they're not going to really care about it. It's more formality. So ensure that you make the first impression. Let's look at it honestly and realistically. When you want to go on a date with someone, you want someone's attention and their time. You're going to go and do everything you can to ensure that not only do they have a great time with you, that you are going to be memorable. Same application here. And doing that is by showing competency, showing emotional intelligence, the ability to understand that you are an asset, a resource, someone to be reckoned with, and someone that is going to energize the team, the businesses, someone who's going to help realize their manager's goals and be able to put them in the forefront of being a someone that people want to go to. So showcasing all of these facets and presenting them in an effective and memorable presentation that exemplifies who Kevin is, that's how you're going to get the job. Not IT certifications, not coding, not any type of paper. And quite honestly, Kevin, and anyone else who spends a lot of time emphasizing and gives value to the currency that is certifications, do you want to showcase what you know to that person, or do you want to just give them a stack of certifications, walk away and hope for the best that this paperwork is going to give every nuance, every dimension to who you are as a capable cloud architect? So you have to ask yourself this. Don't give more value to these certifications and paperwork than they're actually worth.
Absolutely. So, and as a fun fact, you know who my references were for my first tech job? One was a physician, one was the fire chief where I used to be a paramedic, and one was a good friend.
Exactly. See, it's the quality. They gotta see, you gotta put forth your best presentation, your best effort to emphasize energy, capability, competency, being able to package that, showcase it, and talk about your architecture, why this is where it is, how it can benefit, what's going to be the overall end game of this architecture and how it transforms business. Walk them through it and showcase that you know the difference between block storage, object storage, file storage. You understand about BGP. You understand about tooling, why this one is going to weigh a little bit more than others. Why routing, how you're able to equate routing with GPS. How is it beneficial? What happens if it's static? What happens if it's dynamic? When you're able to talk about these things and you're able to showcase your competency, out the park, you're going to be able to be successful, and they're going to want to offer you a position there. So focus on that.
Focus on that. Amino, does a solution engineer with 4 years experience working in a client-facing capacity translate well? Maybe. Will this give you any sort of leverage since you're currently working with solid solutions? So, Anima, let me ask you this question. If you're not touching the technology, if you're going to a customer, you're asking their executive team about their business, and you're going back to your company and you're building a multidisciplinary team of engineers and architects to do it, yes, this will help you. By comparison, if you're meeting with the customers going back and building it, you're not and you're not at the C level, no, it's not going to help you. But if you're a sales engineer and what you're doing is meeting with clients and presenting at executive briefing centers and working booths at conferences and helping to sell things, and you're not in the back end touching the tech, yeah, it's going to be a big, big help for you because it's very closely related to sales engineering. So yes, in this case, that sounds like it could be a big background, but it's generally speaking, the difference is a lot more business executive. But sales engineers actually do provide relevant experience for architects, whereas cloud engineers that are people that are setting up the virtual machines and the storage do not. But sales engineers, if that's what you're describing, yes, that's a good training background from cloud architects. Very good training background. So Richards found this channel last night. Very impressive so far. How long is the discount count for? How long does a member have access to the 500 hours of content? So Sid, the discount expires in about a week. And so get it now before it goes back to $24.99. How long does a member have access to the 500 hours of content? Unlimited. We never take that away.
Nope, never.
Now, please understand, Sid, that we are not just online training content. That's not good enough. We have 3 live classes per week via Zoom. And in these live classes, what will happen is you will design architectures from start to finish. Secondly, so keep that in the back of your mind. You will sell to us in class. You will build business cases in class. You will write documentations. In between classes, you'll be recording videos about yourself, which may be related to your interview or an architect, and our team is going to give you feedback on it. You will do architecture projects, meaning designing architectures for banks and healthcare organizations and other big environments. You will have resume training in this program. You will have interview training in this program. And you will be in our program until the day you are hired. We don't kick you out at 16 weeks and say you're done. You will be in our program until you are hired. You'll be able to attend the live classes for a full year, a full 12 months. You don't need 12 months, but you'll get it 12 months in the class. You'll have unlimited access to the content, and we'll keep recording content, and you'll still getting access to that even after it's over. In fact, we have a lot of architects that continue to use our content after they're hired, and they call us and they're like, Mike, I just had this project that you did in class. Guess what? I referred back to this architecture. It was great. So that's the way our program works, and we would love to work with you and get you hired. How about you, Alonzo? You want to say anything?
Absolutely. I am always excited. If anyone actually has conversations with me during our initial discussions about Go Cloud Careers, what we can offer and how we can transform whatever background you have and apply that as foundation towards your new career, I'm all for it. And I'm always excited to welcome people who are a part of the community, who are already here, and those who are interested in being here to become cloud architects. So Sid, please give us a call. I'd love to converse with you about how we can do that for you. We definitely ask that you don't hesitate, because these discounts, we already started off with 60. Currently, we are at 50. We have maybe another week left before the 50. Then it's down to 30. And finally to 15% off after that. Regular prices will resume. We don't want you to hesitate thinking that you can play a game of financial or career-based chicken with us, because unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep these going. So it's going to be back to regular pricing. We want to transform your life. I'm excited about it. Michael always is excited because he is the CEO and founder of this company. Chris, our operations, Chow, as you've seen earlier before, and a host of all of our capable instructors. So, Sid, give us a call or enroll on your own at www.gocloudcareers.com. Go through the prompts for the 50% off while we have it, and let us welcome you into the community.
Absolutely. Let's get you hired. So you're taking cloud practitioner tests next week. You went to a code coding book and a program's been an ops engineer for 2 years. Where do you go now? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Fideki? Would I recommend a TAM position? Go back to the first half, Joe?
Yeah, I want to definitely talk about this.
We went to a coding boot camp. That won't help you and been an ops engineer. So realistically speaking, you can't go into a TAM position because that requires you to be a sales executive. So you're going to need some training for that. The question is, right now, if you've been an ops engineer for 2 years, you're able to be an ops engineer unless you get training. So the question is, what job would you like? And then we can tell you to which training to go.
Yeah, and definitely let's make the assumption, Fakati, if you want to be a cloud architect, as someone who unfortunately spent time doing the AWS cloud practitioner, I'm going to be very honest with you. It has no value, okay? Unless you want to actually work with no one else but AWS and you want to do some sort of lower tier sales profession in which they dabble slightly, if far percent, I'd say maybe 0.05 of what they teach on that cloud practitioner is what is valuable, as especially in a cloud architecture role. So I'm trying to help you. If you can get out of that, taking that exam, cancel it. Okay, I think you need to focus on your competency as being a cloud architect, understanding the tech, what it is, what it does, and when you would use it versus AWS's interpretation of their services. Because as the industry continues to move forward, they're always focusing on multi-cloud execution, meaning at the end of the day, that translates, I'm not trusting you with all of my services. What if something goes wrong? What if you have disaster recovery? What if you decide my positioning and my opinions and the position and culture of my company is not aligning with yours? You're going to shut me down, or you're going to raise prices on me to the point where I am so vested in your organization that it's too expensive and too risky for me to pull out. So we want to emphasize that we build cloud architects, not solution architects, which emphasizes AWS version, Azure, Google, Microsoft Azure's version, or Google Cloud Platforms version. We want to make sure you're well versed in the technology that they all rely on as rent to present services to everyone out here. So, Fakade, I'm being honest with you. You don't have to believe us. You don't have to feel comfortable in what we're saying. We're asking you to do your due diligence. Look at our prior videos. Look at our testimonies. Look at anything that can help you make sound decisions, not spend all your time and money putting value in certifications when it's your competency that matters more than anything else.
Right. And so you did mention which careers you're actually interested in.
Yes.
They're completely different.
Right.
For the cloud architect, you're going to have to learn business.
Well,
how to present.
like you said, cloud engineer or cloud architect.
How to sell, how to lead, how to design. That's a cloud architect's job.
Yeah.
Now, a cloud engineer is a builder, and they're different. Now, the cloud engineers touch Linux every day. The cloud engineers touch Python every day. The cloud engineers write Bash shell scripts and Windows PowerShell scripts and write Terraform scripts and work at the CLI. So architect, design, present, and sell, engineer, build. So they're completely different skills. I would say if you wanted to become a cloud architect, you're going to need complete training. If you retraining, and that's okay, we do it every single day. If you want to be a cloud engineer, which I don't recommend in today's world because engineers are getting laid off while architects are getting hired. And engineering's future, especially because of ChatGPT and other AI, is going to be reduced. Then you're going to need to. Sounds like you have some programming skills, which I guess is okay. You're going to still need to get network data center skills. And then after that, you're going to need Terraform skills and big Linux engineering skills as a cloud engineer or as an architect, business, sales, executive communication, executive presence, emotional intelligence, leadership, ROI modeling, learning how to respond to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs. So, Fidaki, please attend the How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar on Thursday. And Chow put that in the link. We don't have much more time, but maybe Alonzo and I could take one more. And then I know I have a press appearance that I have to get to. First name NASA. Do I have to have a cloud practitioner if you already have network experience? Well, networking experience is just one component of the entire thing. You don't need any certifications. People like Delray Back got hired with no certifications. So it's never about certifications. In fact, there's a good video on our YouTube channel we made, which is why you should never do the cloud practitioner ever, about it being a complete and total waste of your time. But no, you don't need a certification. You need the ability to do the job and be great at the job. So let's end on this. Please join us for the completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. It's going to be on Thursday. We'll tell you everything you need to know to get hired, and you can ask us questions for upwards of an hour and a half. To download the free How to Get Hired interview guide, download the completely free How to Get Your First Architect interview guide. The link should be in the description of these videos. Take advantage of the 50% off sale because this is going to the last time our course will ever be $1249 ever again. Once this expires next week, it's never, that discount is never coming back. So take advantage of it while you can. And of course, go out there and build your dreams. Any one of you can do it. The only thing that gets in the people's way is fear. They're afraid of success. They're afraid of failure. Just win. Get the right training and just do it. I mean, when I was in medicine, I wanted to work in tech. I just did it. 6 months later, I was a senior engineer. 6 months later, I was the lead architect on my team. 6 months later than that, within a year, the time I decided, I was working on Wall Street. And I loved it. I've been an architect ever since. So go do it. Go after the dreams. But just get the right training, because whatever you get, whether it's with us or somebody else, get the right training, because you don't get jobs like airplane pilots by accident. You don't get jobs like being a doctor by doing projects on the side, and an architect is just like a doctor. You get hired by getting the right education, the proper skill set, and learning how to apply the proper skill set. Whatever you do, build yourself a great career. Can't wait to see you. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a fun show. Head in the clouds. We're going to talk about the worst thing in today's world. Too long didn't read, TLDR. So see you soon, everybody.
Take care, everyone. It's been a pleasure.